Crafting your own equipment in tabletop role-playing games and having fun doing it is starting to feel like solving nuclear fusion or watching a YouTube video without immediately scrolling down to look for funny comments. Maybe that's just me. But video games have done crafting right over and over. So finally, in D&D 2024, did 5e fix their crafting? You'll have to be the judge. And hey, you've got good taste, so right off the bat, if you know a ttrpg resource that actually made it both fun and easy to craft gear, and maybe even harvest materials from monsters, please share it down in the comments. And I guess write something funny too, because I'm Bob. This is where we learn how to have more fun playing RPGs together. And let's start with the 2014 D&D Player's Handbook rules for crafting. You can craft non-magical objects, including adventuring equipment and works of art. You must be proficient with tools related to the object you're trying to create, typically artisan's tools. You might also need access to special materials or locations necessary to create it. For example, someone proficient with smith's tools needs a forge in order to craft a sword or suit of armor. Okay, no magic items, but we need to be proficient with the right tools. I guess it's implied that we need to have the tools themselves, and we might need special materials or a special location. But how much time and money does this take, you ask, responsible business person? For every day of downtime you spend crafting, you can craft one or more items with a total market value not exceeding 5 gold pieces, and you must expend raw materials worth half the total market value. If you want to craft something that has a market value greater than 5 gold pieces, you make progress every day in 5 gold piece increments until you reach the market value of the item. For example, a suit of plate armor, market value 1,500 gold pieces, takes 300 days to craft by yourself. That is a lonely blacksmith. So in other words, crafting time is a number of days equal to the item's cost divided by 5. You gotta spend gold equal to the item's cost divided by 2. Then it states multiple characters can work together at the same rate to speed things up. Happy blacksmiths everywhere. Overall, this 2014 crafting ain't that bad. I really like how you can just do it automatically, like without any checks, because you're already spending your downtime and your gold. But it is a lot of explanation for what boils down to a cheaper and slower way to buy mundane items. and that's the problem. There's really nothing attractive or cool about this. You can't make anything with special properties, magical or not, just nothing special. Nor does it feel hands-on because you're still just buying all the tools and materials versus in fun video games when you're typically creating new items out of other items or out of parts that you looted from monsters. Now, the 2014 Dungeon Master's Guide does have a small section called Crafting and Harvesting Poison, which provides a pretty good basis for monster loot in 5e, so we'll examine that later. But to sum up my opinion on it, it's way too difficult. DC 20 skill check every time, boo. And it's worth noting that Xanathar's Guide to Everything in 2017 changed crafting by the time required from days per 5 gold piece value to work weeks per 5 gold piece value, where a work week is defined as 5 days. But like, what is an adventurer's work week? Do they get off Saturday and Sunday? What about paid time off? I'm calling HR. But basically this switched it from days per 5 gold to days per 10 gold, reducing the time required to craft items by half. Those blacksmiths are even happier now. Also, Xanathar's included some really general guidelines for crafting magic items, but exactly like the mundane crafting in the Player's Handbook, this boiled down to a cheaper and slower way to buy items. It doesn't feel like crafting. So, before we go over the D&D 2024 crafting rules, we're going to take this detour through what I consider to be the part of crafting that's missing here. Harvesting loot from monsters, and I don't know, maybe crafting cool items. Specifically, here's what I'm looking for. Like in a fun fantasy video game, monster loot should be easy to harvest, if not automatic. Crafting could be a challenge, but not if you're spending time and gold to do it right anyway. And again, crafting must result in cool items with special properties, perhaps even magical. For transparency's sake, those goals mostly come from a 2004 hack and cast fantasy game for the PlayStation 2 that taught me the basics of D&D a full decade before I ever played D&D, and while it will almost certainly inspire my own crafting rules someday, today it's my pleasure to share a 5e compatible monster loot crafting system that meets most of these goals, partially inspired this video, and graciously sponsored this portion of the video, Battlezoo Bestiary. This is a growing line of books made by some friends of the channel at Roll for Combat, and as the name suggests, each Battlezoo Bestiary contains a ton of fantasy monsters. Their new one, Elemental Storm, has over 170 monsters, delightfully weird, fantastically illustrated, I really love the art in here, and exceedingly detailed for folks who love a big, beefy stat block. Plus, it's got new elemental spells, new monster hunter character options, and an elemental expansion to their fan-favorite monster parts crafting system that works with any monster, not just ones in here, and even works with homebrew, covering not just crafting, but upgrading your equipment. So be sure to check out their new Elemental Storm Kickstarter through the link below so they know who sent you. But every Battlezoo Bestiary book contains a standalone explanation of how this crafting system works. First, gathering monster parts is easy. It takes 10 minutes or more at the GM's discretion for particularly enormous or numerous monsters, but you just do it, which I vastly prefer to the other ttrpg harvesting rules I've seen, which sometimes require multiple skill checks just to analyze and take the loot. But remember the fun video games? Monsters just drop the loot because fighting them was the fun challenge through which you earned it, and that naturally scales with the monster's power. But sure, if your character is rushing, they don't have time to carefully identify or harvest parts, then a check makes sense, like any other aspect of a dice-based RPG. Now, the monster parts themselves are super simplified in Battlezoo Bestiary, perhaps even too simple for me. All monster parts are compiled into one generic item/resource in your inventory called monster parts, and you just track the total gold value of this resource assigned by a table in the book. The trade-off here is that you lose the cool flavor of which parts came from which monsters, but you can always track that yourself. It does save you from tracking a huge list of different parts with different properties, and treating all parts as a resource is what makes this system compatible with any monster ever. Then the actual crafting takes place either during harvesting or during a rest by spending the gold value of the parts to create or upgrade your equipment, almost like XP and level ups for your gear, to make them count as magical, give them bonuses, and give them special properties called imbuements. For example, I could spend 10 gold in monster parts from a hover wolf, check out my previous video about making monsters more exciting, to create my own Wolf Glide short sword. Then 30 more to make it magical, 50 more to imbue it as a Wolf Glide sword of lightning might. And with more parts, I could continue to upgrade that lightning imbuement or continue to refine the whole item to +1, +2, or eventually +3. So yes, keen viewers might notice that the Battlezoo system kinda boils down to a cheaper and slower way to buy equipment, but you're cashing in monster parts, not gold pieces. It's way faster than D&D's crafting time requirements, and you're making custom items with special, even magical properties. If anything, the Battlezoo harvesting and crafting system is really a crafting and upgrade system, but I think that's what people want. It captures the simple but fun approach used in video games, and my only real complaint is that it's laid out a little too wordy for my taste. The crafting section is about 30 pages. I feel like most of it could be summarized in tables or definitely less text, but it is really thorough. Now, as promised, here's the harvesting and crafting guidelines for poison from the 2014 Dungeon Master's Guide. A character can attempt to harvest poison from a poisonous creature, such as a snake, wyvern, or carrion crawler. The creature must be incapacitated or dead, and the harvesting requires 1d6 minutes, followed by a DC 20 intelligence nature check. Proficiency with the poisonous blah blah blah. On a successful check, the character harvests enough poison for a single dose. On a failed check, the character is unable to extract any poison. If the character fails the check by 5 or more, the character is subjected to the creature's poison. So like I said earlier, I think this is a good baseline, but DC 20 is way too high for this, especially considering the consequence for failing by 5 or more could mean killing your character depending on which poison they're attempting to harvest. And there's probably like a Dune joke in there somewhere, giant worms. But anyway, there are no new rules for monster harvesting in the 2024 Player's Handbook. Maybe it'll be something like we just had in the new Dungeon Master's Guide or move to the Monster Manual, but I haven't heard any news about it, and squatting like this is hurting my legs. But I haven't heard any news about it, and I feel like they would be proclaiming it everywhere by now if we were getting an official monster loot system, so I really doubt it. And that's fine, because I don't really want to buy the new DMG or Monster Manual, but that's irrelevant here. Back to crafting. From the 2024 Player's Handbook, which I received for free, but was not paid to talk about. I really thought I was holding it upside down for a second. To craft a non-magical item, you need tools, raw materials, and time, each of which is detailed below. If you meet the requirements, you can make the item, and you can use it or sell it at its normal price. I like that clear and simple intro. Tools. This chapter's tools section lists which tools are required to make certain items. The DM assigns required tools for items not listed here. You must use the required tool to make an item and have proficiency with that tool. Okay, so 10 years later, clarifying that you do need to have the tool, not just have proficiency with the tool. Wonderful. Raw materials. To make an item, you need raw materials worth half its purchase cost, round down. For example, you need 750 gold pieces of raw materials to make plate armor, which sells for 1,500 gold pieces. The DM determines whether appropriate raw materials are available. And just so we're on the same page, so far, 0 changes to crafting. Much better presentation, but no changes until time. To determine how many days, working 8 hours a day, it takes to make an item, divide its purchase cost in GP by 10. Round a fraction up to a day. We're rounding up in D&D 5e, people. That's new. Like actual math. But yeah, so the change, if it counts, depending on your perspective here, is that they're sticking with the Xanathar's Guide version of halved time compared to the 2014 Player's Handbook. And it has similar notes about multiple characters working together to speed things up. This new PHB also has sections for making health potions and spell scrolls, and at a glance, I believe both of these sections also came straight out of Xanathar's Guide with some rephrasing for clarity. So, the main improvements to D&D's crafting rules themselves come from this 2-page spread detailing each set of tools available in the game, which might be on your screen if Editor Bob is feeling gutsy about sharing full pages from the new D&D book. Formerly, most tools were useless, but now each one can be used to craft 1 or more items, and that's pretty awesome. They even have a suggested use involving a skill check, but some of these are kind of weird, like cobbler's tools, allowing you to, quote, modify footwear to give advantage on the wearer's next dexterity acrobatics check. Like, what is supposed to be happening there? Can someone please describe how a cobbler adjusts footwear to improve a single acrobatic attempt? But if nothing else, it is funny, and I don't know if you know this about me, but I do in fact enjoy fun. Like this video if you agree. Okay, we're starting to get off the rails, but it actually kind of works for this next section because it's a little out there, but you're gonna enjoy it. The crafter feat. Tool proficiency. You gain proficiency with 3 different artisan's tools of your choice from the fast crafting table. This part's fine. More tools to mess around with, that's cool. Discount. Whenever you buy a non-magical item, you receive a 20% discount on it. That's a huge perk. Guess who's buying all the party's gear? But this next part is the good part. Fast crafting. When you finish a long rest, you can craft 1 piece of gear from the fast crafting table, provided you have the artisan's tools associated with that item and have proficiency with those tools. The item lasts until you finish another long rest, at which point the item falls apart. So as a fast crafter, you're quite literally jerry-rigging or MacGyvering together shoddy ladders and grappling hooks, even some weapons made of who knows what, and they just fall apart after a day. It's goofy, and I enjoy that goofiness. And yes, it is still pretty annoying that the official, D&D crafting is at best making healing potions and scrolls, or shoddy, mundane materials really fast. But that's why you should check out the Battle Zoo Bestiary Kickstarter, link below, and share this with your game group to see what they think about it. Then check out this other video on your screen about a different 5e compatible monster loot system. Thank you to the Bob World Builder patrons for directly supporting what I do, and keep building.